Alright, now Gen 2's out, we got some new Pokemon that you'll see most commonly in gyms. So, let's go over Gen 1 and Gen 2 most common gym defenders and their counters so you can train up your gym or defeat a gym just like that. And go! Alright, so we're going to start with Gen 1, and what do you see most commonly in a gym almost everywhere? Dragonite. So, what are the best counters for Dragonite? Well, Ice does 4 times the damage, or 1.75 damage in Pokemon Go. The highest Ice attacker is Jinx, believe it or not, with Frost Breath and Avalanche, dealing a lot of damage for sure. I know what you're thinking, you're like, Jinx? Best Ice attacker? Yeah, Jinx attack is 228, I believe. Next up is Cloyster. Cloyster again with a very high defense, but attack at about 183, I believe. And also his best moveset is Frost Breath and Avalanche. And then coming in third is Lapras. Lapras does not have the third highest attack stat, but because it's so tanky, you can deal more damage. An honorable mention would be Piloswine. Piloswine has an attack of like 182. Can do a really good amount of damage with Ice Shard and Avalanche. But with Lapras, you've got Frost Breath and Blizzard. Blizzard deals a massive amount of DPS. And those are the best counters for Dragonite. Alright, the next most common Pokemon you will see in gyms for Gen 1 is Snorlax. Snorlax is a normal type Pokemon, so his only weakness is fighting. Who are the best fighting attackers? Well, you got Machamp with counter and close combat. Then you got Heracross with counter and close combat. Coming in at a close second with Machamp a little bit higher attack. And then you've got Hitmonlee with, again, counter and close combat. An honorable mention, though, will be Primeape with counter and close combat, because Primeape actually has a really good high attack. Defense is a little bit lower than Hitmonlee's, but the stamina is up higher. So Primeape is a pretty good choice, too. But all in all, really any good fighting type attacker that has stab will pretty much suffice for Snorlax. But also, you want to think that Snorlax can have a psychic move, Zen Headbutt. You want to look out for that. So, fighting attackers with high defense, high attack are the ways to go, and that is Machamp, Heracross, and Hitmonlee. We're not done. Rhydon. See him everywhere now. Rhydon is not hard, per se, to get. There are plenty of Rhyhorn, and he hatches out of eggs like nobody's business. So, what are his counters? Well, one of them may not be the best counter, but it's common sense, and it's Vaporeon. Because water is super effective against ground and rock, so you got 1.75 times the extra damage, and you want Water Gun and Hydro Pump. The next counter would be Exeggutor with that high attack and defense, and you want Bullet Seed and Solar Beam. Solar Beam doing 180. It just melts Rhydon ridiculously. Doing that 1.75 times damage is ridiculous. And then coming third would be Venusaur with Razor Leaf and Solar Beam. Again, if you can get a decent grass type attacker that has a good grass quick move and Solar Beam, you're good. You're golden. Also, water attackers like Starmie. That's a good honorable mention. That has a really high attack of like 215. It's around that ballpark. And with Water Gun and Hydro Pump, that's OP as well. So Starmie is another good counter to Rhydon. So water and grass, and definitely the ones I just mentioned. Who else maxes out over 3000 CP? Gyarados. Pretty common in the gyms, although you don't see... Well, yeah, you do. You see a lot of Gyarados in the gym. The best attack would be Electric, as Electric does 1.7 times the damage, or 4 times in the main series. And the number one attacker is Jolteon. Jolteon has the highest attack of all electric types, non-legendary. And you want Volt Switch and Thunder for that. Next up is Ampharos. Now, Ampharos is obviously hard to get, but it's the next best electric attacker, with also, again, Volt Switch and Thunder. And then coming in at third is Electabuzz. Pretty good attacker, and you get Thunder Shock and Thunder. Well, perhaps even more popular than in gyms than Dragonite would actually be Vaporeon. And the best counter for Vaporeon is Exeggutor. Exeggutor with Bullet Seed and Solar Beam. Solar Beam, just like Rhydon, absolutely melts Vaporeon with that super effectiveness. And then next up will be Venusaur with Razor Leaf and Solar Beam. And then third, we can't forget about the electric attackers, Jolteon with Volt Switch and Thunder. Also need to make an honorable mention of Vileplume. Vileplume has a pretty high attack and a decent defense too. And then also you want Razor Leaf and Solar Beam for him as well. Pretty strong attacker. And the last, most common Pokemon you will find in gyms, whether it's yours or an enemy's gym, is Exeggutor. And the best counters for Exeggutor are bug-type attackers. Bug-type moves. Does 4 times the damage in the main series game, or 1.75 in Pokemon Go. And the number 1 attacker would be Heracross, with Struggle Bug and Megahorn. Closely coming in second is Pinsir, with Bug Bite and Megahorn. And third is Scissor, with Fury Cutter and X-Scissor. The reason why Scissor's thrown in there is because any of Exeggutor's attacks doesn't do that much damage against the Steel Bug-type matchup, and Scissor deals a lot of damage. So does Pinsir, and so does Heracross. Only thing with Heracross is Exeggutor can learn Psychic-type moves, so you definitely want to dodge those. Gen 2. Most common Pokemon we will see in a gym for Gen 2 is Tyranitar. Now, not everybody has a Tyranitar, but as the game goes on, people hatch a bunch of Larvitar, you're going to see a bunch of Tyranitar. Just like Dragonite, didn't see a bunch of them in the beginning, but now it's all we see because people are hatching their Dratinis or catching wild Dratinis, and they're everywhere. So the best counter for Tyranitar are fighting type moves. They deal 1.75 times the damage because Rock is weak against fighting, and so is Dark. And, as you could probably already guess, you got Machamp, Heracross, Hitmonlee, and honorable mention Primeape. Those are the best fighting attackers, the movesets all being with counter and close combat. Do want to make an honorable mention to water types because Rock is weak to water. So Vaporeon, Feraligatr, etc., Blastoise, they'll also deal a lot of damage towards Tyranitar. So keep that in mind. Next up is Blissey. You're already seeing him in the gyms, and he's super annoying. With all that HP and that good defense, it's ridiculous. So, was he weak against? He's normal, fighting. You can already guess with this one too. Machamp, Heracross, Hitmonlee, Primeape. I've already named the moves like 3 times now, so you know what to do. Get that Machamp, get that Heracross, get that Primeape, get that Hitmonlee, max them out. You will absolutely melt Blissey. Next Gen 2 Pokemon that you'll see most commonly in a gym, but you don't see now, because it's like that Dragonite and Tyranitar effect, is Donphan. You might be seeing some of them now, but you're going to see a lot more of them later, because his CP maxes out over 3,000. And he's a really strong Pokemon both in attack and defense, both being at 214. So, what are the counters? Well, ground is weak against water and grass. So, you can already probably guess, Vaporeon, Water Gun Hydro Pump, Venusaur, Razor Leaf Solar Beam. Also, you want to throw Gyarados in there, even though Dragon Tail doesn't do stab. Hydro Pump. I mean, Gyarados has extremely large attack, so that's extremely large attack. So that's a good honorable mention. You got Starmie, that with a really high attack for water with Water Gun Hydro Pump, and also Feraligatr with Water Gun and Hydro Pump. Any of those Pokemon I just listed would absolutely melt Donphan regardless of his defense. And the last Gen 2 Pokemon that you will most likely see in gyms is Espeon. Espeon has a monstrous attack and maxes out at 3,000 CP. So, what are the best counters? Well, Psychic is weak to Ghost, Dark, and Bug. So there's a lot in there, right? And your first thought would be, oh my gosh, Gengar, right? Not so much, because Gengar has low stamina and not very good defense, and Espeon has a really high attack, even when you're dodging. Espeon is super effective against poison, and Gengar is ghost and poison, so he would get wrecked. Could you kill Espeon? Probably. Would you survive? Maybe by this much. So, let's go into the counters. Houndoom. Houndoom with Snarl and Foul Play would be a great moveset. Dark type moves. Houndoom has like a 252 attack, I believe. It might be 262. Bug, so you got Heracross, but be careful with Heracross. Actually, it's a terrible matchup because Heracross is weak to Psychic. But he has a high defense, so take it with a grain of salt. Pinsir would be great. Also, let's see. Ghost. Well, none of the ghosts are just pure ghosts. We have Misdreavus, excuse me, but Misdreavus doesn't have very high attack or defense. So, if I had to choose Houndoom, Pinsir, and actually Umbreon. Umbreon doesn't have a very high attack with 129, but extremely high defense at 250. So Umbreon will be able to take those hits because Psychic is not very effective against Dark, and Umbreon could really rack up some damage against Espeon. So a perfect opportunity to use Umbreon to take down Espeons and to train up gyms against Espeons. So there you have it. There are the counters to all the most common Pokemon you're going to find in your gyms or your opponent's gyms. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like it, subscribe. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at PokeGoBrothers. Ask us questions to have a chance to be featured in one of our videos as we answer your question. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.